All right, guys, so here we are in Denver, and we're going to be talking about the craziness that's going on right now with our immigration. I don't know if you guys know, there's a crisis right now, and I'm driving around and I just came across one of the encampments with the influx of people that are coming into the country. And I'm a Denver resident. What I mean is I was born in Denver. I live in Colorado Springs now. And let me just say, Colorado Springs is no better, but Denver, wow. Denver is something else right now, and it's really, really concerning the point that we're at now. So I'm gonna go ahead and show you what I'm talking about, and maybe kind of make you reevaluate the current condition that we're in as a country.
Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of Let 'em Bacon Podcast. My name's Jesus Barron. Well, today was interesting. Today was a very eye-opening experience. I live in Colorado Springs. I live here in Colorado Springs ever since I ended my service and I retired from the U.S. Army. And so I haven't gone to Denver for a while. Now, Denver is my hometown. I was born and raised in Denver. I was born and raised in the rough areas of Denver. I don't know if you know Denver, but there's a Coliseum there, naturally called the Denver Coliseum. And I grew up in the Swansea area. And in those days, it was very violent. There was a lot of gangs, Chicky 30s, Northsiders, UTA. I grew up around all that, right? Plus Bloods and Crips. So it was normal for me to see violence and grow up around violence every single day. It wasn't until my dad was able to reach a higher status in his job, and as I grew up and my brother grew up, he decided that it was probably time to start moving somewhere else, both for our safety and because of financial opportunities that he attained. We were able to move to a much safer place, and at that time it became Thornton, Colorado. Now, at that time, Thornton, Colorado was pretty much the outskirts of Denver, a suburb of Denver, and it was pretty much the end of it. However, obviously, with time and growth, it's expanded, and now Thornton is kind of not really the outskirts anymore, naturally. But one thing that I do remember is that we didn't face as much homelessness or this crisis of migration that we have now. I'm a conservative naturally. If you see my content and my channels, I grew up to become a conservative. As I grew up in the system, as far as living out of government cheese per se, my family getting assistance from the government, either food stamps or things of that nature for a while. We grew up in this environment where we don't have all the knowledge, right? We are limited by the environment that we grew up in. And what I mean is, we were very we were limited to what we learned from school, Latino, Chicano communities, La Raza. We grew up in that kind of mindset and very socialistic mindset about, social programs and helping people. And we didn't understand that, it's a lot more complicated than just social programs and helping people, because unfortunately, government is not the answer all the time, whereas government is very crucial. As I grew up in my knowledge base, I realized that, not everything is free, not everything is hand-me-downs. But I do have to say that even though I have a new mindset as far as when it comes to migration, legal status, the border crossings and things like that, due to the fact that there is things such as terrorism and violence and the danger of foreign adversaries coming in through our borders, either northern border, southern border, or even the coasts. I grew up to understand that it's not about just coming to this country for a better life, that there are rules and laws and things that we have to worry about. However, we forget when we get caught up in that aspect of, there's foreign adversaries that can come through the border, we forget the other side of the aspect that not everybody that's coming to this country is a terrorist. Not everybody's coming to this country trying to cause harm to us, right? And I know that it's not something that everybody wants to hear, but we have to come to the reality that this country is still the land of opportunity. It's still the place where we come to achieve our dreams, and it still should be forever a place of opportunity for other people that need to have that opportunity for themselves, for their families, to be able to grow.
All right, guys, so here we are. We're in the cross section of 27th and Alcott. And like I said, right behind me is that one encampment. You know what I mean? And so right behind me, there's a family right now. It seems like they're getting donations of clothing, other items, and there's kids with them. I don't know if you can see the kids in the background, but here we are. I'll go ahead and pan over a little bit. And it appears there's other volunteers also that are trying to get, either clothes, food, water, things that people need, especially now that it's getting cold. So yeah, I'm gonna go see if I could talk to some of these people, see if they're willing to talk to me, and then go from there.
Because unfortunately, these countries that they're coming from, they don't have the capacity. They don't have the capacity to have a family and become successful or even have a future. It's so easy to forget where we come from sometimes. For example, my parents coming here, that we tend to say, you know what, that's somebody else's problem. That's their country's problem. Let's take that over there, right? Now, that's not to say that I still don't stand firm. I still stand firm in the sense that we still need border protection. We still need a wall. We still need to keep our adversaries out of our borders, because it's important. Every country needs to have a border, especially a country such as the United States that holds such a high, for lack of better terms, we are the greatest nation in the world. So hence enemies come with being the greatest country in the world. So we need to have a protection from our adversaries, our enemies that would be, trying to hurt us or cause us harm. But at the same time, there has to be a way to ensure that good people do come to our country. There has to be a way. It's not a popular opinion due to the fact that our country is so strained and we're in debt, our deficit, our debt, we're just trillions and trillions of dollars, right? Last figure I heard was above $30 trillion, and that's just insane. Naturally, we understand that, we could only take so much. Naturally, I understand that. I understand that we could only take so many people because we have our own problems here. Our infrastructure is crap. Our homeless veterans and drug and mental health problems on top of everything else, right? I understand. We have student debt. We have a lot of problems here on the home front. Noted. Duly noted. I understand. Great. I'm on that bandwagon, right? America first. But again, as you can see, and I'm going to show you clips, I spent most of the day today walking and talking with people in the area of Speer Boulevard and Zuni. There's a quality inn there, and just outside of that quality inn is a tent encampment, or a kind of like a refugee camp per se, with just dozens of families or individual couples or single males or single females, all trying to find a way to exist because of the promises of a better life they were given when they came to this country.
Sad that we're currently, like I said, living in this situation. They don't have anywhere to stay. It's cold. Trying to find a way to make money. That's just something else right now. You just heard right now, somebody said chamba, which means they're looking for work. You know what I mean?
Now, I spoke to many of them, and the common theme was, we just want work. We're here to make a better life for our families. And naturally, I spoke to them, and they seemed honest. They seemed steadfast on their vision or their goal, that this was what they wanted in order to be able to provide for their families and have a better future for themselves, right? And the living conditions there were very sad. These people are living out of tents. They're sleeping on the floor. I don't know how many families I saw with just small children. We're talking about 2 to 5, 6-year-old children, right? And many people say, well, why would you put your kids in that situation? I mean, we are quick to judge because we don't live in those situations. We don't know where they came from. As far as I understood, the majority were coming from Venezuela, Peru, some from Colombia, and funny enough, I was able to talk to them about my point of view. I said, you know what, guys, I'm going to give you my point of view and the perspective as an American, right? I said the reason why people have such a hard time with immigration, especially on one side of the aisle, is because there is a threat. There is this level of fear that not only are good people coming, but there's bad people coming. And funny enough, they agreed with me. They said, you know what? You are right. There's a lot of people from Korea. There's a lot of people from Iran, a lot of people from China, a lot of people from all these other countries that are known to be our adversaries that are coming in. And they themselves confirmed and said, you know what? Yeah, we didn't see too many females and too many kids. It was mostly men. And they said, but you know what? We're not them. We don't associate with them. We're literally, if they're the ones that are cause problems, don't confuse them with us because we are here for the very purpose of trying to make a better life.
So what's your name? My name's Alejandro Lazona. Well, good morning. My name's Alejandro Lazona. I've been here a couple of days. I've been here 3 days since I arrived to the United States. Everything is good, but what I wish for all my Venezuelan people is to have a job. Right now we don't have a job. That we get a work permit so we can work and get out of the street. Right now we're staying out of the right outside the installation of Quality Inn, staying here. And here at the hotel they can no longer house us. We humbly stay at these tents. This is where they attend to us. Some people bring us food, some people bring us clothing. But what we need is a job, because with a job we cannot buy our own house. We can't pay our own bills. We have families. We also have kids here that are sleeping in the tents and in the streets, and they're cold. We need help from the governors here in the United States. We need help for them to help us, give us some assistance. But most importantly, we need the permit to be able to work and documents that allow us to work. Thank you.
That's what we're here for. And I have to say, I believe them. I truly believe them. I sat there and I talked to them. A lot of them had their wives with them. They had their kids with them. And it was a very humbling, eye-opening experience. Because it's very easy that at the end of the day, as I make this podcast, right? As I'm making this podcast right now, they're laying in their tent near downtown Denver right now, probably freezing their butts off. Probably freezing, probably didn't eat, and have no money. They don't know where to go. Now, here's something that I didn't know. And this is why it's important to talk to these people. As far as Venezuela goes, these people can't go back to Venezuela. Because the minute they left Venezuela, they were considered traitors. To my understanding is if they go back to Venezuela, then they are potentially facing up to 30 years in jail just for the simple fact that they decided to leave the country. They are seen as terrorists, or they're seen as traitors, or somebody that's not suitable to be in Venezuela. Why? Because Venezuela, as a socialist, communist, whatever the case may be, country, is definitely not like America. So these people are afraid of going back. They don't get asylum in any other country, right? They don't get asylum in Guatemala because Guatemala is actually in shambles also. There's people leaving from Guatemala. Essentially, the only place that's even remotely decent to live in is El Salvador. But even El Salvador is not suitable because the president has waged, a blockade per se, or security in that country due to the very nature of the things that they're going through, right? Trying to curb gang violence and stop all the problems that they have in that country through that president, right? And so they're kind of stuck between a sword and a hard place, as they say. And it's very interesting. Now, I spoke to them also on the fact that, for example, when they get here, they, as far as where the people that are interviewed at, they come to this place, and that quality inn that they're staying at, for the families, for the people that have families that, such as kids and a wife, right? They allow them to have a room for about 37 days. After the 37 days are done, then they're let back, or they're kicked out of the room, and a new family comes in. And for everybody else, if they come as individuals or a single couple, right, no kids, then they only can stay in the room for about 2 weeks. That's it. So it's difficult. It really is. And I'm sitting here and I'm thinking about, what can I do different? Because I teach about being prepared. I teach about having the ability to protect your family, how to protect yourself, what things to have in case of an emergency, having the ability to carry a firearm, a first aid kit, spare money, having the truck, all the bare necessities, right? And I'm sitting here and I'm looking at all these people. They don't have the right to bear arms. They don't have the right to protect their families, right? They don't have a vehicle, a truck, or anything like that. And once again, I know that we resort to the default thought that, no one told them to be here. Yes, I understand, but guess what? They're here. They're here already. So what do we do with that? What do we do with that? It's not a problem that just goes away. It's not a problem that we can just dismiss. I honestly think that, as a Republican, myself as a conservative, there has to be a reform. A reform is as far as immigration reform, because we do need good people. We do need people to be able to contribute to our country. It's obvious that we can't meet the quota when it comes to the armed forces because our own people don't want to do it, right? So why aren't we able to allow people that are vetted, right, that are willing to assimilate into our country, take up our ideals, go through a process of learning our history, learning our language, and be able to just adopt everything about our culture, and allow them the ability to have, access to become a member of a services or a police officer or something like that, right? Or even just have a job, for that matter. There definitely needs to be a reform. We don't know what it looks like. I don't know what it looks like. But it's very, very hard to ignore this. It really is. It's very hard to ignore this. Again, I spoke to these individuals. One of them his name was Giovanni, and he basically told me his whole story. He said, I had to cross 12 countries to be able to get here. And one of the biggest things that jumped out to me was that when he reached Mexico, cartels were quick to jump on them. They were quick to try to extort them. They were quick to try and take advantage of them. They were quick to kill some of the people that were trying to cross over because they wouldn't either give them money or the women wouldn't give them any, pleasure. And that's also an issue, right? That's also an issue not for us, but for our southern neighbor, which is Mexico, right? Because they're not doing what they're supposed to do. Because it's not our border. It's not only our border that has issues. It's Mexico's borders. Mexico borders with Guatemala and Belize, and those borders are constantly being invaded, constantly being crossed, and nobody's doing anything to ensure that border is stopped, right? Kind of as a neutral zone or a buffer zone per se that would prevent people from making the trip all the way up here. Not only that, but prevent cartels from taking advantage of these people, taking advantage of these women. So there's a lot of things that can be addressed, right? But on top of that, also, I think it's very important to ensure we put pressure on all these other countries, right? Like Venezuela, Guatemala, Nicaragua, anywhere that these people come from. We need to ensure that we put pressures and sanctions on these countries, or demand something. I mean, I'm not an expert on all these matters, but something needs to be done. Something needs to be done to say, you know what, if you guys are going to be terrorizing your own people, you're not getting a single dollar from us. If you don't allow opportunities or ensure that they have individual rights, either through, having the ability to defend themselves, having the ability to have free speech, basically all the rights that we have as a country, that allows us to have everything that we have as Americans, these people need to have that ability in their own countries. Honestly, I think that's a more realistic solution. Honestly, as an American of a Mexican descent, if Mexico was to provide those freedoms and rights to their own people, to be able to defend themselves against cartels, to be able to have a non-socialist country where there's no corruption and ensures that their citizens have the right to protect themselves and free speech and everything else like that we enjoy here, I think Mexico would be a whole different country. Incredibly saddened by what I saw today. Even my energy feels drained from what I saw today. This podcast feels like I don't have energy behind it because I'm thinking about it. I was actually going to go to bed and relax and just watch a movie before I went to bed, but I couldn't stay quiet. I had to start talking at least and edit this later. I don't know. I would figure it out, but I wasn't going to stay quiet. Because at the end of the day, at the end of everything, when everything is all said and done, when I decided to serve this country as an American, as a U.S. soldier, it was with the belief that we are the shining light for the world. We are what sets that light on that peak of opportunity and freedom, and everybody looks to our country as a beacon of hope. That's why I joined the military, because I firmly believe in that. And I wanted to provide my payment to the country for allowing my parents in my generation to be able to have the freedoms that we all want. So when I see these people and I see that maybe this is a story for, like my dad might have had, it hits home. Because if I was a byproduct of an immigrant and now I stand firmly as a supporter of this country and everything that I do is to serve this country, who's not to say that the generations that come from these immigrants that are here are not going to be able to, who's not to say they're not going to contribute the same way that my father contributed to this country through myself and through my brother's service. The next generation of good people, of good soldiers, of people that contribute to society and stand up for what is good, or are willing to stand up and fight for this country. Yes, right now you might see him as nothing. Right now you might see him as just anybody, just somebody occupying a space on the road in a tent, and you might see him in disgust. I myself am guilty at seeing some of these things and being like, wow, why don't they just go back? That's hypocritical of me, yes. But it's also very human of me. And it's not until I realize and I take a step back and say, you know what? I could be that person right now. I could be that person right now hugging my kids in that tent, trying to keep them warm. I could be that person right now not knowing what tomorrow's going to bring. How am I going to feed my kids? How am I going to make $1 to be able to buy something over here or buy the next meal? So, I mean, it's something tough, guys. And I'll say one more thing, and I didn't say anything to these people. It just came out of them. I'm not even joking. It was surprising to me that one of the things that they said was, this wasn't Trump's fault. We were actually really good when Trump was in office. We blame all this on President Biden and his administration, because they promised us all these different things, and we get here and they just throw us over to these cities and load us up on buses and kick us out and say, good luck. And now here we are. I'm quoting them, people. This isn't my words. This is them. They got us on a bus. They sent us to New York. New York didn't want us. They kicked us back to Denver. Some of us they sent to Chicago. Chicago didn't want us. They sent us back to Denver. And here we are, trying to figure it out. We already overstayed that hotel. They don't want us anymore. We overstayed over here. They don't want us anymore. And we're trying to make, a living. We're trying to survive, essentially. We don't want any problems. Unfortunately, we're being taken advantage of by many of the African Americans around the area. Some of us have been getting mugged. Some of us have been getting beat, and we can't do anything about it because we're afraid of legal action or whatever the case may be. That's their reality. They're afraid. They were told a thing by our administration, and then we're blaming them for coming over here when they were promised something. That's a problem, people. That's a problem. If we can't hold our own government accountable for the problems that they're creating, what do we do? What do we do as Americans?
All right, guys. So again, we just got done doing some interviews, and honestly, it's difficult. Trying to do more for these people is hard, and you could see the need. Obviously, after my interviews, I stayed around and I chatted with them as far as what they went through, their story, and it's tough, and we don't appreciate the things that we have in this country. And I was able to give a little bit of my perspective. They asked about my perspective as far as the way everything's going on, how we see the current situation with immigration, and I was honest and I said, this is our perspective as far as, both security reasons, the national debt, everything that we have going on, our own problems that we have in this country. And surprisingly, they empathized and sympathized with that because they were able to see my point of view.
So, I don't know. I really don't know. One thing's for sure, though. We still need to maintain our discipline. We still need to maintain our focus on what's good. We need, as men, to stand up and be pillars for our families, be pillars for our country, and ensure that we maintain ourselves. What does this have to do with immigration? Well, because I think that someday it's going to be required for us to be able to do something, because I don't know what's going on, guys. And I'm not suggesting anything illegal here. I'm just saying that we need to be pillars of strength for our families, for our country, be the example of what is right, and being helpful to these people, being an example for others to emulate. If they're going to come to our country, be a beacon. I want to be like that man right there. He's a retired combat veteran. His father was an immigrant. I want to be like that man right there. He was a Korean immigrant. I want to be like that man right there. He was an African American immigrant, or an African immigrant. I'm sorry. I want to be like that man right there. They all are successful. They all are strong. They all are men that protect their families. They all are men that stand up for this country. They believe in freedom, opportunity. They provide. That's what we need to do. We need to stop all this social acceptance that, it's bad to be a man, or that it's bad to be a man of faith, that it's bad to be a man of the family, head of the household, that it's bad to be, somebody that believes in justice or patriotism. We need to stop all that. We need to believe in opportunity, hope, strength, discipline, honor, integrity, duty, self-respect, all of that. We need to instill good values in this country once again. We need to instill discipline in this country again. Hard work, faith, all of that. How to be a helping hand. Because I'll tell you what, yes, I will always keep my head on a swivel, but I will not be keeping my head on a swivel for people that need help. We need to be warriors, but we also need to be peacemakers. There's a time for everything. And I'm sorry if I sound a little bit out of energy. Naturally, I am. I am a father. I have 3 kids. I do this and I do other things. It's almost midnight. I'm pretty exhausted. And tomorrow I have a lot of things to do. But this message is important. It really is. So again, I appreciate it. My name is Jesus Barron. Follow me on TikTok, Let 'em Bacon. You can follow me on Instagram again, Let 'em Bacon Podcast. Same thing for YouTube. Subscribe. I appreciate you guys. Again, I'm sorry if I sound out of energy, but today was very tough. It was tough spiritually. It was tough mentally. And yeah, God bless, guys. Take care.